Russia wanted a ceasefire, then fired 1,820 times before breakfast. Ukraine noticed. Now, Moscow's Victory Day parade is being staged without tanks, without armour, and without certainty that Ukrainian drones won't find Red Square. Putin asked for a truce to protect a parade. Ukraine hasn't decided yet. Russia wanted a ceasefire. What it didn't want, according to the Ukrainians, is to keep one. On May 6th, Ukraine put a halt to fighting, a unilateral silence of the guns that Kyiv said was a genuine test of whether Moscow was serious about peace. Within hours, it was over. Ukrainian officials recorded close to 1,820 Russian strikes across Donetsk, Kharkiv, Dnipro, Sumy, Chernihiv, Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions before 10 in the morning. In his nightly address, Zelensky did not mince words.
Russia has fought to the point where even its main parade now depends on us. And this is a clear signal. Enough is enough. I thank everyone who stands with Ukraine.
The parade Zelensky was referring to is Moscow's Victory Day celebrations on May 9th, Russia's most visible annual display of military power. This year, it is looking considerably less powerful. Russia's defense ministry confirmed on April 28th that tanks and armoured vehicles would not feature in the Moscow parade for the first time since 2007, citing the operational situation. Zelensky was blunt about the reason: fear of Ukrainian drones over Red Square.
And it is true. Most tasks are carried out by drones and people operating drones. But the state's positions are where the infantry stands. Respect to every member of the Ukrainian infantry for their courage. Right now, Ukraine's Ministry of Defense and the military command are working to strengthen our infantry. New contracts, new financial resources, and new opportunities specifically for those on the contact line, carrying out combat tasks.
It goes further than Moscow. In occupied Crimea, Russian proxy authorities cancelled Victory Day celebrations altogether, including the Immortal Regiment March, citing security concerns but making no mention of Ukraine or its drones. Kremlin aide Yuri Ushakov had said on April 29th that Putin proposed a limited May 8th to 9th truce to Trump during a phone call, and Trump appeared receptive. But Ukraine's position, backed by its foreign ministry and European allies, is that short-term ceasefires Moscow routinely violates serve one purpose only. A senior Ukrainian official told the Kyiv Independent that Kyiv sees no point in observing a ceasefire designed to protect a parade. Oleksandr Mereshko, head of Ukraine's Parliamentary Foreign Affairs Committee, went further, calling the Russian proposal a sign of weakness and panic from Putin.
Putin's nightmare is to have the military parade disrupted or spoiled, which will send to the Russian population a signal that Putin is weak, he is losing the war, and is unable to guarantee safety for Russians.
Whether Oleksandr is right in his assessment or not, for a country that has built its wartime identity around projecting strength, an anxious, scaled-back Victory Day tells a story Moscow would rather not tell. Russia is building a wall of steel around its own capital, not on the front lines or near Ukraine, but around Moscow itself. And that alone tells us that something has fundamentally shifted in this war. Satellite imagery analysed by the German outlet Bild shows that around 43 new air defence towers were installed around Moscow in 2025 alone, forming what analysts are calling an expanded defensive perimeter. These aren't symbolic installations. They're Pantsir S-1 systems mounted on rooftops, landfill mounds, and key transport corridors. Alongside them are larger S-300 and S-400 batteries. Some of these new positions are being built directly on top of old Soviet-era S-25 Berkut sites. which means Russia is essentially recreating its Cold War defensive architecture. For a country that spent 3 years projecting strength and invincibility, that is a striking admission. An earlier investigation by Radio Liberty found that more than 50 new surface-to-air missile positions had been constructed since Ukrainian drones first reached Moscow in May 2023. The systems now form overlapping defensive rings around the city, with some layers positioned even closer to the capital than the original Soviet lines. But concentrating so much hardware around Moscow means pulling it from somewhere else. Frontline regions like Kursk, Bryansk, and Belgorod may now have reduced air defense coverage. Russia is protecting its showpiece. Everyone else gets less. The timing of all this matters enormously. May 9th is Victory Day, Russia's most important national ceremony. The day Vladimir Putin stands on Red Square and projects the image of a powerful, undefeated Russia. This year, that image is harder to maintain. The Kremlin has already confirmed that for the first time since 2008, there will be no armoured vehicles or missile systems at the parade. The official reason is a terrorist threat from Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has not been subtle about what that means. Speaking at the 8th summit of the European political community in Yerevan on May 4th, he said,
Russia has announced a May 9 parade in Moscow without military equipment. If that happens, it will be the first time in many, many years. They cannot afford military equipment, and they fear drones may buzz over Red Square. This is telling. It shows they are not strong now.
The nervousness in Moscow is real and visible. Several mobile phone operators announced that the internet would be restricted across Moscow and St. Petersburg for much of the week leading up to May 9th, citing security concerns. The worry, according to officials and analysts, is that Ukrainian drones use cellular networks for navigation. The disruptions are already affecting daily life, with messaging apps, taxis, and banking services going down. Alexei Zhuravlyov, the deputy head of the State Duma's Defense Committee, described the parade itself as a dangerous event and warned of possible Ukrainian drone swarm attacks. And then, in the early hours of May 4th, a Ukrainian drone struck a residential high-rise in a wealthy neighborhood in southwest Moscow, less than 10 kilometers from the Kremlin and Red Square. Russian officials said there were no casualties, but the building's facade was visibly damaged. Mayor Sergei Sobyanin confirmed the strike and said 2 other drones were intercepted that same night. Russian authorities said 117 drones were intercepted across several regions between Sunday and Monday. 60 of them were aimed at St. Petersburg alone, which the regional governor described as a massive attack. It was the 3rd consecutive night Moscow came under drone attack, 3 nights in a row, days before the parade. A European intelligence assessment adds another layer to all of this. It suggests Putin is not only worried about external drone strikes, but also fears internal threats, including a possible assassination attempt or coup, with drones specifically flagged as a potential method.